want to introduce this next hymn to you. A hymn called As Now This Global Crisis Has Brought Us to Our Knees. It's a hymn that was specially written, inspired in lockdown by the Reverend Graham Deans, who was a member of our congregation in Linktown and Kirkcaldy. And Graham wrote this hymn in the early days of the first lockdown. We sang it then, and then found that it had also been taken up by in Nigeria, particularly by an organ studio there. And so that's the version that we're going to hear from Nigeria. But first, Graham introduces his own hymn and tells us a bit about what inspired it and what's behind the words. As now our global crisis has brought us to our knees.
I was asked by Katrina to say something to introduce the hymn that you're about to have. I was going to say inflicted upon you, but I hope it's something that will make you all think. The current crisis that we find ourselves facing is one that certainly caused me to think. Challenges like these, they challenge your theology, your whole outlook on life. And that's why I began with the words about how this global crisis has effectively brought us to our knees. Now that's true in two senses of that expression. Everything's stopped. It's as though the whole country has shut down and we're locked away in our own little private bubble. But the other sense of that expression, being driven to our knees, is that we're driven to our knees in prayer and we're seeking God's way through this current crisis. So these are my initial thoughts. See how this goes. That's how the first verse began. The second verse continues on the theme of lockdown and how it impacts on people's lives, how it affects our mental well-being, our spiritual well-being, as we're sort of imprisoned within the confines of our own homes, cut off from the fellowship of the rest of the church. But it takes an awful lot to stop the church's song. The people of God, years and years ago, wondered how they were going to continue to be able to sing the Lord's song in exile. That's exactly what we are doing, singing the Lord's song in exile. Somebody once said that the best defence we have against the coronavirus is your front door. But that's only partly true. I began thinking about how the disciples faced lockdown and how our Lord found that the locked door was no barrier to his getting through and to meeting his disciples when they least expected. So it's on that positive final note that the last verse finishes. Very much in my mind was that passage from the final, well, not final chapter, but the penultimate chapter of St. John's Gospel, where Jesus appears to the disciples, calms their fears, gives them a whole new outlook, and enables them to face the crisis with renewed faith and with renewed hope. So these are my thoughts behind why I wrote the hymn that you're now about to hear.
Hello everyone, this is a special presentation during this lockdown period, and we are going to do the coronavirus hymn written by Graham Dean. Well, if you can recognize me, this is Larry Delano at this lockdown times. I want you to listen to the lyrics of this hymn. It captures every moment of the situation the world is in. We're going to use the tune Aurelia, and I'm going to have Waina sing the solo. Waina is 25 kilometers away, and I'm going to have Biodun Falode, an organist at Chapel of Transfiguration, and he's like a son to me. So we're going to do the hymn together, and I'm going to start with the introduction.